They say the people who show up during your worst moments are the ones who truly matter. 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital with rods in both legs, stitches down my spine, and a plastic bag of medication in my lap, I sat alone in my apartment staring at a souvenir bag labeled Merci Paris my parents had left, with my sister. Not just the city, the country. They flew to France 2 days after my crash and blocked me on every channel. The last thing my mother said was, "Don't call us while we're happy," so I didn't. And 3 days later, after their happy little Eiffel Tower photos stopped getting likes, and someone finally asked, "Where's your other daughter?" they called. Over and over. But by then I had stopped reaching for the phone, because the people who mattered, they were already here. My name is Talia Monroe. I'm 30 years old. And last month I received a promotion, a pat on the back, and a promise. This is your year. I believed it. I'd spent 6 years at a rising UX agency in Seattle, slowly working my way from contract designer to lead strategist. My days were filled with design sprints, client calls, and lunch breaks, spent teaching interns the difference between clean and cold UI. I was good at what I did. My team knew it. My clients trusted me. My boss, Rachel, finally acknowledged it with a corner seat, a pay bump, and my name printed on a new set of business cards. The same day I got the promotion, my mom texted, "Paris is back on. Everyone's excited. Can you still take time off?" Everyone in this case meant my parents and my younger sister, Sienna. 23, newly graduated in sociology after dabbling in film creative writing and a brief dream of opening a crystal shop. She lived with our parents and had just started a part-time position managing a yoga studio in Tacoma. They adored her. Me, I was the strong one. Growing up, I used to think strength meant being quiet about disappointment, about the missed soccer games, the lopsided gift budgets, the way Mom always said, "Your sister needs the encouragement more. You'll be fine." So I was fine. I filled the gaps. I drove myself to college interviews. I worked weekends at a bookstore and used leftover scholarship funds to buy groceries when my campus card ran out. I didn't complain when my graduation fell on the same weekend as Sienna's regional dance recital and my parents had to split the difference. I didn't complain because I thought that's what adults did. I thought being independent was a badge, until I realized it was a reason, a justification. Still, Paris sounded like a truce. It had been years since our last family vacation, and even that one ended early when Dad caught a stomach bug, and we drove 9 hours back from California in silence. But Paris. That had been Mom's dream since before I was born. The Louvre, the pastries, some Moulin Rouge fantasy she never really explained. We planned over Zoom, flights, Airbnb options, even a night cruise on the Seine. Mom wanted matching coats for the photo in front of the Eiffel Tower. Sienna was giddy. Dad said he'd already made restaurant reservations. I adjusted my schedule, submitted time-off requests, cleared my calendar, bought a deep red wool coat I couldn't really afford but figured I'd wear in every picture. The week before the trip, we had dinner at their house, roast chicken candles, and a bottle of wine that Dad claimed was worthy of the occasion. The occasion being a proper send-off into a well-deserved European adventure. I brought dessert. I talked about work. They nodded politely. Mom asked Sienna if she'd packed extra tights. Dad reminded her to bring a power converter. No one asked about my promotion until I brought it up. "Wow," Mom said vaguely. "That's great, sweetie. What exactly do you manage now?" Sienna laughed. "She manages everything, Mom. She's like boss lady of all the apps." We all laughed. I pretended it felt warm. I left early that night. My boss had asked me to review the onboarding flow for a major retail app before Monday, and I wanted to give it a final polish. Plus, I had a long drive home to my apartment in Queen Anne. I remember thinking as I turned the key in my car, this trip is going to be good for us. The last good thought I'd have for a very long time. It was raining. Seattle raining, not dramatic, just steady, persistent, familiar. The kind that coats your windshield in a blur, even when the wipers are on full speed. I had just merged onto I-5 headed north. My bag was in the passenger seat filled with UX wireframes, a half-eaten protein bar, and the red coat I'd planned to wear on the plane. The meeting that afternoon had gone well. My team signed off on the final iteration of a client dashboard, and Rachel had pulled me aside after to say, "You're hitting your stride, Talia. Paris will be good timing for you." I smiled, thinking of wine in Montmartre and hot chocolate on foggy riverbanks, of walking alongside my mom, maybe talking about more than Sienna, of proving somehow that I belonged not just in the family, but in the picture. The highway was quiet, too quiet. I remember switching on the heated seats, glancing at the time, 9:42 p.m. That was the last clear moment. The next a shape in the road. Fast. Wrong. A deer? No. A dog? No. A tire. A full tire had come loose from another car, bounced into my lane, and was rolling straight for me. I swerved. Not sharply, not wildly, just enough to avoid it. My tires caught water. I felt the slide before I even registered the sound. Hydroplaning. The car spun once, twice. I didn't scream. I just tightened my grip on the wheel like that would do something. Like muscles could fight momentum. The world turned horizontal, then tilted. Headlights rushed toward me. Then a crunch, metal screaming, impact. Everything went white, then black. I woke up to flashing lights, a woman's voice, urgent but calm, telling me not to move. "Can you hear me? Can you squeeze my hand?" I tried. Failed. My body was lead. Her legs, another voice said. "Look at her legs. Oh God." I looked down. Shouldn't have. They didn't look like legs. One was bent in the wrong direction. The other wasn't there. Not in the visual sense. It was buried under twisted metal. Shock is a strange thing. It lets you observe pain without feeling it. It lets you register your own body like a crime scene. The roof was peeled open. I was lifted out like broken furniture. The rain hit my face. Then the pain came, like fire through my spine, like glass behind my eyes. I passed out before I reached the ambulance. The next time I opened my eyes, everything was fluorescent, cold. The kind of cold that no blanket touches. A woman in blue scrubs was leaning over me. "You're in the hospital. You've been in an accident. You're safe now." Safe. I blinked. My mouth was too dry to speak. She glanced at the monitor, then gently placed a hand on my arm. "We've contacted your emergency contact, your parents. They're on their way." I exhaled barely, but somewhere just under the relief something else stirred. A flicker of doubt. Like I already knew on some buried ancestral level that the people coming weren't going to save me. When I came to again, it was morning. A different kind of light filtered through the blind, soft, yellowish hospital standard. My legs were gone from the waist down. Not literally, but that's how it felt. A heavy void, a nothingness laced with pain. The nurse came in cheerful but professional. Her name was Kira. She checked vitals, adjusted the IV. Then she said gently, "Your parents came in last night. You were under." I blinked. "They came. They said they'd be back today. They had a few things to sort out." She hesitated just enough to make me notice. A few hours later, the door opened. Mom in a lavender trench coat, Dad behind her still in his work blazer, and Sienna, my sister, holding a Starbucks cup and looking like she hadn't been crying but had thought about it. "Talia," Mom said, walking to the foot of the bed but stopping short of touching me. "Look at you. We were so worried." Dad nodded silently. Sienna mouthed, "Hey," like we were catching up at brunch. They stayed for 37 minutes. Mom kept glancing at her phone. Dad said, "You're in good hands here." Sienna asked if I remembered the deer. I told her it wasn't a deer. Before leaving, Mom said, "We'll stop by tomorrow. We'll bring some things from your apartment." "Any request pajamas?" I whispered. "Phone charger," of course, she said. But they didn't come back the next day. Instead, I got a text from Mom at 6:48 p.m. Talia, we've decided to move forward with the Paris trip. The doctor said you're stable, and Sienna really deserves this after such a stressful week. We'll check in when we can. I stared at the screen. Not, we'll be back soon. Not, we're postponing. Just, we're going. An hour later, another message came. From Dad this time, please don't call us while we're away. We need this to be a happy time. A happy time. In Paris. While I lay flat on my back half machine with rods drilled into my bones and an IV in each arm, then came the final hit. My phone buzzed with a post from Mom's account. A public caption under a picture of her dad and Sienna at SeaTac Airport. Finally a family trip without drama. Paris here. We come. I didn't cry right away. I just turned the screen face down and stared at the ceiling tiles. White, repetitive, comforting in their blankness. That night the social worker came in to talk discharge planning. Do you have someone at home who can assist you for the first few weeks? She asked. I opened my mouth, closed it, then lied. Yes, I said. My family will help. They didn't. 3 days later, I was discharged and wheeled into my own apartment by a hospital transport driver who had to help me open the front door. Inside, everything was where I had left it. Frozen pizza in the freezer. The coat I was going to wear in Paris draped over a chair. Red, untouched. The setup Mom promised, a throw blanket folded on the couch. A few bottled waters. And a printed note on the counter. We stocked the basics. You'll be okay. You've always been so independent. Love, Mom. No signature from Dad. No text from Sienna. Just silence. And the faint notification chime from my phone every few hours as photos from Paris began to roll in. Macarons, wine, the Eiffel Tower at sunset. Sienna tagged in every shot. I turned off notifications, then I turned off the lights, and sat there, in the dark, in the apartment I had paid for, in the body they'd left behind. Day 1 alone wasn't the worst. That came later. On day 1, I was too focused on logistics, how to transfer from the wheelchair to the couch, without tipping forward, how to reach the microwave, without standing, how to take the right dosage of pain meds, without mixing them up. I was occupied. Day 2, the silence settled in. Not the kind that feels peaceful, the kind that presses against your ears until you wonder if you're going deaf, the kind that turns your own breathing into a reminder that you're alone. I tried calling Sienna. Straight to voicemail. I texted Mom, "Can you ask someone to bring me more gauze?" No response. They were probably drinking coffee near Notre Dame. Probably captioning another photo about healing energy while my stitches bled through a makeshift bandage I'd cut from an old t-shirt. By day 4, the apartment had begun to reflect me disheveled, slow sagging around the edges. Dishes piled up, trash overflowed. I couldn't get to the chute. I couldn't even open the cabinet under the sink without bumping the chair. I tried bathing myself using a wet towel and a salad bowl of lukewarm water. I dropped the bowl. It rolled under the couch. I couldn't reach it. Dinner was 2 packets of crackers and a warm ginger ale. I didn't brush my teeth that night. On day 5, I tried to retrieve a painkiller I'd dropped. I used a wooden spoon like a rake, but it rolled farther. I sat there for 30 minutes just staring at it. White, oval, salvation 1 inch too far. I started crying, not dramatically. Just slow, exhausted tears that fell and kept falling like a leak in the ceiling you can't patch. I don't remember going to sleep. I remember waking up at 3 a.m. because the pain in my left leg was unbearable. I reached for the phone to call someone, anyone, but stopped. What was I even going to say? That I couldn't move, that I was tired of crackers, that I didn't want to be this version of me anymore. Instead, I opened Instagram. They were at the Palais Garnier. Mom had captioned the photo magic in every corner. No drama, just joy. In the background, Sienna was holding a glass of champagne. I stared at it. I felt something split, not like my bones in the crash, but slower, quieter. A break you can't see but feel forever. It wasn't just that they had left. It was that they had erased me. I closed the app, deleted it, then turned my phone off altogether. I sat in silence. And for the first time since the accident, I asked the question I never let myself say out loud. If I disappeared completely, who would notice I didn't sleep that night? Didn't eat, didn't take my meds. I just waited, not for someone to show up, just to see how far I could fall before someone even looked down. The knock was soft. I almost didn't hear it over the sound of nothing. No TV, no notifications, just the hum of the fridge and the shallow rasp of my own breath. It came again, then a voice, hesitant, muffled, but familiar. Talia. It's Rebecca. From work. I blinked. Rebecca Gardner. UI writer, quiet. Wore cardigans, even in July. We'd only worked together on 2 projects, and neither had been particularly memorable. She once complimented my slide deck fonts. I said nothing, just stared at the door. I brought groceries, she added, and, soup. I wasn't sure what kind. I don't know why I moved. Maybe it was the way she said wasn't sure, like she really tried to be. Maybe it was just the shock of a voice not piped in from Paris. It took everything I had to wheel to the door. My palms were slick against the rubber grips. When I opened it, she stepped back in surprise. Talia, she said softly. I forgot what I looked like, greasy hair, oversized t-shirt, eyes sunken. I suddenly wished I hadn't opened the door, but she didn't flinch, didn't pity. She just asked, may I come in? I nodded. She moved fast but gently, set the grocery bag on the counter, pulled out things I didn't know I needed: soft bread, broth, paper towels, a fresh toothbrush, dry shampoo. I wasn't sure what kind of meds you're on, so I didn't get anything heavy, she said, glancing around. And I figured you were probably sick of crackers. I laughed. Or tried to. It came out like a cough. She scanned the apartment, saw the pile of dishes, the dropped pill, the salad bowl under the couch. Let me help, she said. And she did. She moved without asking for instructions. Washed dishes, wiped counters. She found the laundry basket and folded what little I'd been able to clean. She picked up the pill, placed it in a labeled container, and slid it gently onto the coffee table. I watched from the couch like I was seeing something sacred. Eventually, she cooked. Just eggs and toast. But the smell, warm, real kind, was the scent I hadn't realized I missed. She brought me the plate like it was a gift, not an obligation. You don't have to stay, I murmured. She sat beside me anyway. We've been worried, she said. You stopped replying. And Rachel noticed your timesheets went blank. I looked at her. Why did you come? She hesitated, then shrugged. Because you matter, and someone had to. 5 words. That's all it took. I broke, fully, not in front of my parents, not at the hospital, but there on a mismatched couch in front of a woman I barely knew over scrambled eggs. I cried. Deep, shaking, embarrassing sobs. She didn't look away. She didn't offer platitudes. She just sat there anchoring me to a world that hadn't completely abandoned me. That night, Rebecca texted our team lead. The next morning, a plan was in place. It happened the morning I tried to carry a bowl of oatmeal across the kitchen by myself. Rebecca had just left. Jessica, the home health aide, wasn't due for another hour. The microwave beeped, and I told myself, you can do this. You're better now. You don't need a spotter for everything. I lifted the bowl onto my lap, locked the wheels, and started the slow roll toward the living room. Halfway there, I hit the corner of the rug. The chair jerked. The bowl tipped. Scalding oatmeal spilled across my thighs. I screamed not just from the heat, but from the humiliation. In the chaos, I twisted wrong, trying to reach the burn cream. My body shifted off balance, and the chair tipped sideways. I hit the floor hard, my bad leg slamming the edge of the coffee table. For a moment, everything froze. My pulse roared in my ears. I didn't cry. I didn't even yell. I just lay there panting, oatmeal soaking through my clothes, pain shooting up my legs, staring at the ceiling and whispering, so much for being strong. That's when the door opened. My parents and Sienna. I had forgotten they still had a spare key. They walked in, carrying paper bags stamped with Mercy Paris, and smiles that froze instantly. Talia Mom dropped her bag. "Oh my God, what happened?" Dad rushed forward like a fireman arriving too late. "We didn't know you were. Where's your nurse?" "She's not a nurse," I muttered, trying to sit up. "And she's not here yet." Sienna dropped to her knees beside me. "Why didn't you call us?" I gave her a look so flat it made her blink. Mom was already opening cabinets, acting like she still belonged. "We'll get you changed. Make some tea." The door buzzed. Rebecca walked in, keys in hand. She took one look at me on the floor and went straight into action, gentle, efficient, firm. No panic, just precision. "Burn?" she asked. "Just surface," I said through gritted teeth. "And my leg. I fell on the bad one. I'll text Jessica to come early." Dad stepped back as Rebecca helped lift me. Mom hovered like a ghost. Within minutes, I was upright again, settled into the chair with a cold compress, a clean t-shirt, and water. Only then did I look at them. The people who left me, the people who now stood awkwardly in a room they used to call mine. "You weren't supposed to see me like that," I said. Mom stepped forward. "Sweetie, you need support. And we're back now. Let us help." "You already helped," I replied. Rebecca looked at me. I nodded. She understood. She quietly walked toward the door, but not before saying loud enough for them to hear, "I'll come back tonight, Talia. We'll finish the documents together. You've got this." Then she was gone. The silence was tight. Dad broke it first. "She comes often enough to be family," I said. "Same with Jessica. Same with Janet, Thomas, my team, the people who showed up." Mom's mouth twisted. "We were thousands of miles away. You were a text away." She didn't reply. I reached beside me and grabbed the souvenir bag, pulled out the little Eiffel Tower figurine, held it up. "You can take this back," I said. "It doesn't mean what you think it means." Sienna looked down. Mom looked offended. Dad looked old. "I'm not angry anymore," I said softly. "I'm just not yours in the same way I used to be." Sienna whispered, "Talia." "I'll talk to you," I said, locking eyes with her, but not through them. Then I turned my chair toward the window, and I didn't look back. 6 weeks after the crash, I took my first steps, 4 shaky paces across the living room with a walker, Jessica steadying me on one side. 7 weeks in, I made it to the mailbox alone. 8 weeks, I cooked my own breakfast. Burnt toast. Perfect. Life didn't bounce back. It rebuilt. My apartment no longer felt like a prison. It had become a base camp, a place where healing had a schedule, a team, and occasional takeout from 3 different cultures. Every Friday night, someone from my new family stopped by. Rebecca brought board games. Thomas explained insurance jargon. Janet once showed up with a crock pot and a spreadsheet titled Weekly Recovery Tracker. Sienna visited quietly. No big apologies, just actions. She helped reorganize my kitchen, put reachable things on reachable shelves, brought books. She also brought honesty. "I used to think they were good people who just didn't know better," she said one evening. "But I think maybe they did, and just chose convenience. We didn't argue, we didn't defend them, we just peeled away the myth. Together." On week 10, I walked out of my building alone for the first time. I stood under Seattle's cloudy sky and realized something quietly profound. Paris is just a city. It's not love, not loyalty, not home. That same day, I removed the spare key from under the planter by my door. I also peeled off the label on the intercom that said Monroe Unit 3B and replaced it with Talia and Company. The final step came on a Tuesday. I had been invited to speak on a panel at a local UX conference, small, casual, but it mattered. It was the first time I would show up as me, not just as the title beneath my name. As I prepared my slides, a text from Mom came through. "Saw your panel on Facebook. We're proud of you. Let us know if you want to get lunch sometime. I stared at it. No apology. No mention of Paris. Just an invitation back to something that no longer existed. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email and sent this to Rebecca, Janet, Jessica, and Thomas. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for being my people. Then I clicked send. Some people vanish when you fall. Others show up with grocery soap and scrambled eggs. And those people, they don't need blood ties to be called family. They earn it. One visit, one bowl, one Wednesday night at a time. The end. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If you've ever felt left behind by the people you loved most, or found unexpected strength in those who showed up quietly, you're not alone. We share stories like these because they matter. They remind us that family isn't always who raised us. Sometimes it's who reached for us when we fell. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And if you want to hear more like it real raw, and sometimes hard but always human, subscribe. And join this growing community of survivors, rebuilders, and quiet warriors. There's more to come, and maybe your voice is next.